My biggest fear is speaking on a huge stage in front of thousands of people, even hundreds of people. So in a way, it's a little bit easier, I think, for introverts because you are alone in a room. So it's just working the muscle like anything. When it's new, it's going to feel super awkward and uncomfortable at first. And if you point out your own judgments or your flaws, whatever it might be, then people are going to notice them. So it's just being yourself. And I know that's so cliche and everybody says that, but when the clients now call, that's what they're attracted to, is they reinforce that you can just be yourself and that the right people are going to find you.
Today we're talking with my good friend Sarah Newman, and I cannot wait to share her story because as a second-year agent, she is absolutely crushing it. Now, she started over around age 37 and was really in the restaurant business for most of her life and just got tired of that and never even breaking six figures of income in her life. And then by the end of her first year, because she started a YouTube channel, she got right around $100,000 in GCI year one. But by year two, $575,000 in commissions. Absolutely crazy. And I don't even think she's broken 2,000 subscribers yet. And she talks about how within, 28 days, 7 videos, 15 subscribers, she got her very first phone call. And within 53 days, she got her first deal under contract. Now that's coming with somebody with no video experience, no real estate experience. The first few deals that she did was just from sphere of influence, her friends, her family. And she knew that wasn't sustainable at the same time, because the deals were few and far between. So she knew she needed a plan. And again, she saw what we were doing and she thought that is something that I could do. And as an introvert, in her words, she felt like this was going to be a lot easier because she's not that outgoing or not the type of person that goes out and shakes hands and kiss babies. So she thought, even though I've never really made videos before, I can sit back and make those videos and attract the right people to me that want to do business with me. And that has benefited her beyond her wildest dreams. Now, starting a team, starting to delegate leads, already getting operator in place, following a proven entrepreneur system, and turning this into a real business versus just being a stuck real estate agent for the rest of her life. Absolutely amazing what she is accomplishing, and I cannot wait to share her story. So let's talk with Sarah Newman. All right, welcome, Sarah. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm amazing. I so appreciate the opportunity to be here.
All right, awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself to kick this off, and just let me know, first of all, what market are you in, or just say your name and like what market you're in, and how long you've been there.
I'm Sarah Newman. I am with the Elevate team at EXP Realty in Charleston and Summerville, South Carolina. I just got licensed the summer of 2022, so pretty new agent, just over 2 years in.
Oh, wow. Yeah. 2-year anniversary coming up.
Yeah, just had it. I was licensed in July of 22, so it's been just a little over 2 years.
Okay. Awesome. Well, congratulations on 2 years, and hopefully you've made more than the NAR average of $8,800 a year in your first 2 years. So we'll get to that here in a minute, but let's backtrack just a little bit. And what did you do before this?
Most of my life, middle school, high school, college, and a little bit beyond, I was working in restaurants. So I have a hospitality background. And then in about 2013, I transitioned into fully digital world. I was working for a couple different small solopreneurs that had online businesses, and I helped them manage their online businesses. So I learned how to monetize blogs. I actually started my own blog, that food and recipe website that I ended up selling. And at the time, I had no idea how to do anything website related. So I self-taught myself everything. And that was great background. Then I was able to apply that with other people. So helped them with ghostwriting, email marketing campaigns, affiliate marketing, sponsorships, all that fun stuff. And even created a program at the time that helped other people learn how to create and monetize their blogs. So I really did a whole deep dive for about 7-8 years in the digital marketing landscape.
Oh, wow. Well, that's amazing. We might need to hire you.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. And it's actually, yeah, very useful for real estate, as it turns out.
Yeah. Are you using that in your business right now?
Not to the degree that I would like to. I have a lot of ideas for ways I want to implement that further into next year and beyond, but it definitely was super helpful. I learned a lot about SEO. So of course that translated into YouTube and just helped me feel really comfortable and I think more strategic with how I was approaching my real estate business from a lead generation perspective.
Hey, you should check out my new community for free. It's where I host all of my more in-depth trainings, and you're going to get access to step-by-step courses showing you how to get buyer and seller leads for your business using passive prospecting, a supportive community of over 1,300 members, and weekly group coaching sessions you can attend and ask questions. Now, this community is all about passive prospecting and getting a quality buyer and seller leads through YouTube without spending a penny on ads or cold calling. Now, the link is in the description below, so make sure you join for free today and say hi to me when you get in the community. I look forward to seeing you there. Okay, and you got a special guest with you today, huh? It looked like a statue in the beginning, but now it looks like there's some movement going on. So who's in the background?
Yes, that's my cat Kiwi.
Kiwi. Kiwi
Yeah.
looks nothing like a kiwi.
She has bright green eyes like a kiwi.
Okay, gotcha.
I did not actually name her, but I kept her name.
Okay, gotcha. Adopted, a little adopted cat, or?
That's right. She's a rescue.
Okay. All right, amazing. So, wow. All right. So now people are going to say, okay, were you at an advantage because you had this background in SEO and digital marketing? So, do you think that just helped you understand YouTube a little bit better, or do you think YouTube was really kind of like a whole new world when you first stumbled across it?
A bit of both. So I, of all platforms, I actually had not worked in YouTube yet. So I did lots of other platforms, but YouTube wasn't one of them. So in that way, it was a whole new world, but the foundations are similar. So because I had a pretty good understanding of Google, I feel like that really did help. It was an advantage in that way. But I'd always been behind the scenes. So I was never the person making videos or doing any of that stuff. So that was still very intimidating to me. And I had the same fears that everybody else has going into that. So all of that I feel like was an even playing field. It was just that I chose to go the YouTube direction because I understood how important it was. I understood that video is the future and that everybody needs to be doing video and whatever business you're in. And I understood the search engine capacity. So just being that when you Google something and YouTube pops up in the search results, that's so much more powerful to me, in my opinion, versus Instagram or TikTok. And not to diss those platforms, people do very well on them if that's their thing. It's not my thing and they're not searchable. So I know I've gotten frustrated as a consumer trying to search on Instagram for something I can't find what I'm looking for, versus on YouTube, Google, you get exactly what you're looking for. So I knew I could reach my target audience better on YouTube as a vehicle.
Yeah, a couple of really key points there. Number one, it's funny actually. Just right before this, I was searching for because we just got a lake house and so we're gonna do some painting in there, and I saw this Instagram reel, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and it was by an interior designer, and he said, stop painting your house all different colors, right? And he said you have to paint rooms, the trim and the ceiling and the walls the same color, but you use different, matte or eggshell on the walls, and I think a semi-gloss on the trim. So and I was just like, oh, never heard that before. But then he was showing different rooms where it's like that, and of course with the different sheens on the paints, it makes sense. So I'm going back into Instagram and I'm trying to search, because I thought I had saved that reel, but I couldn't find it in my saved folders. And so then I'm trying to search on there, and it's just a mess. I can't, it's, I can't remember this person's name. I'm putting in interior design, a bunch of other random accounts are popping up. And then and so then I've got to go to Google, right? And what do I do in Google? Interior design, painting, same, or walls or rooms, same color, boom, 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 and that starts to pop up in search results. And now I'm sifting through blogs, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, which sheens or whatever, which do I need on for each, for if I get white or whatever and I paint a room, what do I need that? So that's a good example of what you're saying, where trying to go back on these short form platforms and find something or search something is very, very difficult to do. And, and I also think about, the evergreen strategy component, right? I tried to go back on my own feed in Instagram. I was looking for a reel, and I had to sit there and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. And I was like, geez, when did I post that? I don't know if, and it's a year ago, and I'm posting once or twice a day. I mean, I've got to go through 100 reels scrolling to try to just find what I'm looking for. And then I've got to just be able to do that by thumbnails, and
Yeah.
and it's extremely challenging, but that's interesting too. Also, a point you brought up, all that background in SEO and digital marketing and everything too. It's interesting how YouTube is still kind of like put off or not even usually implemented in those strategies, right? I mean, because you were working with these companies and none of them were concerned about having a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, I think they maybe had one, but they maybe, just were haphazard, just post something here or there. It was not at all intentional.
You're right. Yeah. So it's always just the redheaded stepchild, right? It seems like in YouTube's, I just think the biggest return, and I'm hearing more and more creators now, massive influencers that are embracing YouTube, and now they're starting to look at all their data and analytics, and they're coming back and saying, "Wow, we get less views on YouTube, but we're turning over 4 or 5 times the amount of business." And so it's just interesting to see how it really is effective, not just in real estate, but in many different markets. So let me backtrack a little bit though, because when did you start your channel?
June 13th, 2023. I know the exact date 'cause I'm a nerd like that.
Okay, so then that means you had a good year or so, right, as a regular real estate agent?
Yes, it was almost a year before that I was in the business before I launched the YouTube channel. And that was really the turning point because I had, at the time, I did have, after all of my digital marketing days, I decided I wanted something a little bit different. So I stopped doing having all those clients and I did something here in Charleston. It was actually a terrible job, but I learned a lot. It was timeshare sales for a very large uh, company that everyone would recognize. And that's great for certain people. It is so not for me. But it was great because it got me out of my comfort zone. It got me into Charleston. I learned a lot about the city. I really enjoyed being out with people. And so that got me thinking, like, what else could I do in Charleston that is people related? And through that time that I was in that career, I got my real estate license. So I was still working full time for that company for a few months while I started my real estate journey. And I just knew that that was not going to work for me. I'm a very all in committed kind of person. And so after trying to toggle them both for a few months, I just thought, you know what, I need to quit that job. It's sucking my soul, first of all. And then second of all, just from a time perspective, it just didn't make sense. I knew I had to go all in on real estate. So it was pretty risky because I didn't have savings. I didn't really have so much of a plan at that point, but I just knew that I needed to do this. It was more of a gut feeling, I think. So I only had closed one deal at the time, and then I got my second one under contract. This was about November, actually 2 years ago of 22. And so I quit my job with just that in the pipeline. Had a few more sales trickle in early 23, but really I knew that I had to do something, just really commit and go all in because it was do or die. I was like, if I can't make this work, I am going to have to go get a job. And I don't want to do that. I love being an entrepreneur and really knew that I wanted to make real estate work. So that's when I discovered you and passive prospecting. I think it was maybe April of that year. Took me a couple of months to just go through the whole course, get my first videos recorded and uploaded. And that's when the channel launched in June. And that was when my entire trajectory started to change.
That's awesome.
Hey, real quick, if you're thinking about changing brokerages or you're brand new and you're thinking about choosing a brokerage, well, Travis and I would love to talk to you about partnering with us at EXP. You'll get access to all of our coaching, training, and courses at no cost, but mainly we want to see if we're a good fit for each other. So just check the description below and you can book a call with myself and Travis, and we look forward to speaking with you.
Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit too. So how did you get the first couple of deals under and do you have a secondary income right in the house? I'm not sure about I don't know if you're comfortable sharing. I mean, married, single, kids?
Right now, I'm in a relationship with my boyfriend for about 3.5 years.
Okay.
He has a 13-year-old daughter. At the time, we yeah, at the time, I guess we had just started dating fairly recently. So I lived by myself solely, financially
So
independent.
you didn't want to say, hey, can you support me while I venture off into real estate? So that's why you're saying, okay, I got to go all in. I've got to make this work. Okay. So sometimes when our back's against the wall is whenever we do our best work. So,
For sure. I think that's what I needed almost was that situation to make me take it super serious.
okay. So so how did those first couple of deals transpire? And then, before you got into the YouTube aspect, how did you navigate those deals and what were you doing to obtain those?
My very first deal was a referral from my brother. He lives here locally too, and some friends of his were looking to buy their first home. So that was my very first deal. And then the second deal was a referral from a mortgage lender, which was really nice. And then the next couple, actually my brother then decided to move, and so I helped him. Then my parents decided to move here from a different state, so I helped them. So it was a lot of just family and sphere of influence.
Well, good. All right. And so then you came across us. Do you remember where you first saw us at?
That's a great question. I think maybe it was through EXP somehow. You might have been on that Friday show, the big agent meeting, perhaps with Russ, or some kind of EXP promotion, I think is how I found you.
All right, good. So that stuff actually works.
Worth your time.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work with EXP. Of course, we're the preferred YouTube program for EXP. We've partnered with them, and so now we're doing the Elevate coaching platform with them as well. And it's amazing. We'll be running a 6 week challenge starting in January. So kind of co-sponsored by EXP, which is pretty cool. So that's good. So yeah, and I've done the broker meetings. I've done those meetings. I don't even know. I've done inside the university, all that stuff. And so I don't know. I just say yes when they go, hey, can you do this? I go, sure. I don't even know what it's for usually, but it works out. All right, good. So you saw us there through EXP, got into the program. You got it. You said a couple of months to really kind of get through that. And that was just because you were taking your time to go through it, or you're just doing it kind of on the side here or there, or how did that work out?
I think it only took me maybe a week or two to get through all the videos because I just binged everything. So I wanted to get through the program and really understand the full scope and what I needed to do from there. But then it was getting the videos recorded and I wanted to batch them. I didn't want to just start with one video. I wanted to have a bunch in the queue before I launched the channel so that I wasn't stressed about it. So it just took me a few weeks to plan everything. And in the beginning, it's super awkward, just figuring out every little detail about how to position the camera and the lighting and the audio and all of that stuff. So it just took me longer to do things in the early days. So I took maybe 3 to 4 weeks to batch probably my first 8 videos.
Okay, good. Yeah, because that's something that we emphasize a lot. I mean, if you really want to get started on the right foot, that's what we really encourage is get your first 8 videos recorded. Usually I always recommend do 1 to 2 videos and then get those edited, because if you're new to this, you need to see the finished product. I think it makes it so much easier to make the following videos. If you do 1 or 2, get those edited, not published, yet, like you said, just hold on to them, but get them edited, because when you see the finished product, you're kind of like, oh, wow, I'm better than I thought I was, or, oh, wow, the editing really cleaned this up or made this look good or made me look 10 times better. And I think it's a boost of confidence. And also you understand, the process a little bit more, and then recording the next, 5 or 6. So as you said, when you have that month's worth of content, when you publish that first video, now you're already a month ahead on your content versus getting one video, publishing it because you're super excited and you want to start that channel as soon as possible, even though you haven't had a channel for the last 1, 2, 3, or 4 years. As soon as somebody records a video, they feel like, oh, I've got to publish this right now. And it's like, no, just wait 1 month, just 1 more month. And because you publish that one video and now your back is against the wall. And now you're like, oh, now I've got to get that second video and I've got to get that third video out. And depending on the cadence you want to set, whether that's 1, 2, or 3 videos a week, I think you just put yourself in a hole if you just start publishing as soon as you get that done. So
Absolutely.
kudos there, following the program there and sticking with that. And so you got the first few videos out. Now you mentioned a little awkward for you in the beginning, right? You had some reservations about hitting record and doing that. I'm assuming in a room by yourself, right?
Yes.
which is, I think, the ultimate courage, right? When you can sit in a room by yourself, especially with a camera, and work through that. I think that is one of the biggest challenges that is also the most rewarding. But if you get through that, all right. So walk us through that. You're kind of like, all right, it's go time. How did that feel, and how did you work through that?
Yeah, in a way, it was almost easier for me because I'm very introverted. So to me, my biggest fear is speaking on a huge stage in front of thousands of people, even hundreds of people. So in a way, it's a little bit easier, I think, for introverts because you are alone in a room. So it's awkward, but it's a bit more comfortable, and just knowing in the back of my mind, this is going to get edited. I can mess up. Even to this day, I mess up all the time, and the editors just take it out. So knowing that I don't have to be perfect because I am a recovering perfectionist. So that part of it too. Is just to know that, okay, it's all right. You can do a few different takes. It's just working the muscle like anything. When it's new, it's going to feel super awkward and uncomfortable at first. And like you say in a lot of your videos, if you point out your own judgments or your flaws, whatever it might be, then people are going to notice them. So it's just being yourself. And I know that's so cliche and everybody says that, but when the clients now call, that's what they're attracted to. Is they're like, we just, we really connected with you, and we love that you were so detailed and thorough, and you seem like you know your stuff, and we just watched a bunch of other agents, but we just really liked your personality. And they reinforce that you can just be yourself, and that the right people are going to find you.
That's awesome. So, all right, we made the videos. We get them out there. We start getting them published. Do you recall when the first call came in?
I do, because I actually made a post about it in the Facebook group. So last night I went back and looked at that to see what stats I had put up there. So that was helpful. So it was 28 days after I launched my channel, I got my first call, and I only had 7 videos and 15 subscribers at the time.
Wow, amazing.
So I remember that moment so clearly because my phone rang, and it's a number I don't recognize. And when I answer it, it's like, hello, Sarah speaking. And she's like, hey, Sarah, I saw you on YouTube. And that moment that you've been waiting for, you're like, oh my gosh, it's actually working. It was just so exciting.
Yeah. And as an introvert, like you said too, isn't it amazing when somebody calls you instead of you calling someone else?
It's the best. It's still the best to this day, even after, hundreds of leads coming through. It's like, it's still just so cool every time to feel that connection that you get to build too. They've watched your videos for sometimes hours and hours and hours. They've maybe seen almost everything on your channel, so by the time they call, they really have that connection, and they feel just a deep rapport with you that you just skip forward so many steps with the YouTube leads.
Yeah, it's amazing. So she calls you and says, watched all your videos, love
Yeah.
you. Can you help me buy a home? All right.
It's actually a super cool story how this, what it ended up doing for my business with this first client. So she was coming from Indonesia, and her husband worked for Nike over there, and they were thinking about moving here to Charleston, and ended up not doing that because his contract got extended. So they may still, but didn't end up turning out to be a client. But what her interest was in 55 plus communities. And at the time, I had no experience whatsoever with that niche. I didn't even really know much or really anything about that at all, but we have quite a few in our area. And so she was coming to town, and she wanted to see those communities. So I got to work. I did tons of research on them. And while we were out together touring, the models and the amenity centers, I went ahead and made a YouTube video about it, just thinking like, well, I'm out and I'm learning this, so I'll make content. Posted that video, and 2 weeks later, it was the most popular video on the channel. And to this day, it's my most popular video on the channel. And I don't know, I probably would have eventually thought about doing that, but it was nothing really on my radar that I would have done at that moment in time. And that was really the turning point for the channel, because it just got so popular that I'd made some notes about it too last night, that in the first 2 weeks, I got 2 new clients from it, not just leads. I had more than that, but at least 2 clients that had signed on in 2 weeks after publishing that video. And then now, because it's my most popular, what's been great is that I really feel like an expert in that field, because now I've been to those communities more times than I can count. And it's been a huge part of the business. It's over half of the business now is 55 plus clients. And I love it, because now I feel like I really know the product. I can have consultations, talk to them on the phone. I can answer all their questions. And it was nothing that I would have intentionally gone after as a niche. I would have thought like, oh, I'm too young, like they wouldn't relate to me, and just like have all these beliefs about it. But actually we connect super well. And it's just been such a great niche to kind of stumble into through YouTube.
Oh, very nice. All right. Yeah, I tell you what, we've had a lot of people that have made those types of videos and they blow up. They do blow up. That is definitely something to consider. I mean, I don't talk about that, I guess, because I've never done that. But you know, now that you mentioned it, I might have to bring that up a little bit more. But I don't know. It's cool because I have seen several of those videos on several channels that we work with that have done very well. So that's great. And yeah, and that's the thing is that, you know, you're limited by your own mind, right? Sometimes. And so people put these parameters on ourselves as well. And normally, you know, the phone calls you get are probably going to be within 10 years of your age range, but at the same time, you know, working on something like a niche like that, don't count yourself out because of your age. And so this really applies to the 20-year-olds, you know, because sometimes they go, oh, am I too young? Well, I don't know, but make videos and we'll find out. Either you're going to work with a lot of 25-year-olds or 30-year-olds, or who knows? I mean, we'll have to see. But I know one thing for sure: if you don't make videos, you'll never get phone calls from YouTube. So that's
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, I mean, but also to your point, time and time again, people have just said this is the byproduct of this channel is making them a better agent, making them more informed about their communities and more detail oriented and understanding. And you know, a lot of times agents can kind of skate through, especially their first couple of years, and just, you know, kind of, I can talk about a community, but who really takes time to study, you know, a niche or a community or something like that. And so you have the knowledge, and now that you've done several videos, you know, it's paying off. And that's ultimately, you know, people want to work with the people that are knowledgeable and experts. And it seems, you know, that seems to be a little bit more of a challenge these days, is finding people who are passionate, or, you know, going back to hospitality, like you said. I mean, I'm sure you probably always got your eye on the waiters and waitresses when you go out to eat, right? And
Yeah,
how do
100%.
they treat you, and what's their demeanor when they walk up, and and even if I, you know, I try to engage, or, you know, create a positive, I mean, a lot of them just don't look happy now. They don't want to, you know, they don't. I would think if I was a waiter or waitress, I mean, I would be, there's no way I would not sell dessert with every single meal. And I would just be thinking, how do I increase this ticket? You know, how do I add more stuff to it? Because, you know, of course, tips are based on ticket value. So, you know, and it shocks me how I would say, hey, you know, have you tried this or tried that? And they'll be like, no, I haven't tried that, or I'm not really sure. Or I'll say, what's in this? I don't know what's in that. I don't know, you know, and it's just surprising to me if you work there. I mean, I'd want to understand all the dishes, what's in them, and then, you know, what I could recommend, what do I like? Because people ask those questions all the time, and it just blows me away how they don't, you know, a lot of them don't understand that. Now you go to high-end restaurants, of course, then usually better, but you know, at the same time, it's just being an expert in what you do. And I think that's really cool. And you want to make sure on these videos that you're truthful, and you're giving correct facts and things like that. And, you know, I've been called out a few times, especially if I misspeak or if we get something, you know, a little incorrect. But other than that, it's not a big deal. I'm like, oh, good catch, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll say the wrong number or something like that, but, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, we all make mistakes, but I do feel like YouTube is so great, again, to compare it to other platforms. You can go so in depth on a topic, and you don't need to make your videos excessively long just to be long. Mine are tend to be a little bit long because that's how my brain works. I like to all the details, and my clients that I attract like that, so it just works. But you can go into such depth that people really get so many of their questions answered, and they appreciate it so much. When you're moving from one state to another across the country, a lot of people that we work with have never even been here before, and they're making this big decision to move to a whole new market. And so they really want every little detail that you could even, you know, imagine. They want to be so thorough. And again, like on Instagram, for example, they get little snippets, a little bit here, a little bit there, but YouTube allows you to really just share so much with them, and they really appreciate that. And then you do build your, like you said, you learn yourself as the agent. We improve every day with making videos because we get to learn our market better. And that's great. That shines through in the videos. And then it really does build your authority as well as an agent, that they go, wow, she must really know her stuff. Look, she's got however many videos and she's talking about all these different neighborhoods, like she must know. And even if you don't know everything, right? But you at least are positioning yourself in that way, and you are getting better, I think, with every video you make.
That's awesome. So how many days or months until the first deal went under contract? Do you know that?
Yes, it was 53 days in. So it was actually the second call that I got from YouTube was the first one that went under contract.
Okay.
I do a lot of new construction. I think you do as well. So it didn't close right away. It closed a few months later in December of last year. But it was actually also just bonus that that one was the builder was offering an extra commission because it was kind of like I got into real estate right when the market was shifting. So if you recall, summer of 22 was when all the interest rates started to spike, and that was right when I was a new agent getting into the market. So builders were offering a lot of extra bonuses. I ended up getting actually a 5% commission on my first YouTube client. I was like, okay, this was super rewarding, a great ROI.
What was that price point?
It was 14,
Okay.
so it's about a $20,000 commission check for my first YouTube client. So that was pretty exciting, and definitely got my momentum. It wanted me to keep the momentum going with the channel. It's like, okay, if I could do that, in just the first few months, like what's possible if I keep going.
That's awesome. Well, and so now you mentioned a little bit earlier, you said hundreds of leads. And so do you have an idea of lead count over this time now that has come in?
So that is one metric I'm not great at tracking. That's something I want to improve on. I've up until very recently been a solo agent. And so it's just, there's, so many things to do and to track. And once I started getting super busy, at one point I had almost 20 deals under contract by myself, and I'm managing everything. And it's just like, there's only so much time. So it was very challenging in a good way, but it was just a lot. So I don't have exact number for leads. I know this year I'm going to close 36 deals again just by myself, and almost all of that is YouTube. Actually, 83% of that is YouTube.
Is that paying the bills?
It's definitely more money than I've ever made in any other career. So honestly, until this year, I'd never even had made six figures in any other venture in my past, and then this year far exceeded that goal because in 2023. I think my GCI was over 100, but once you pay splits and referrals and things like that, it was less. But I think it was about maybe 76,000, I want to say. And then this year I'll hit about 545 in GCI.
545,000?
Yep.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. Are you still with the same guy? You better tell him to step up his game.
He's a firefighter, so they do not money in South Carolina.
Oh yeah, well, there you go. Okay, so that's amazing. Congratulations. That is amazing. So let's talk about this then. What you mentioned splits and things like that. Did you have to start a team, or are you just passing some deals on because you have too many?
So I quickly was very overwhelmed. Once the channel got momentum, I feel like around about a year ago, maybe this time, but especially early 2024 of this year, it was just a consistent lead flow. And so I had the idea that I wanted to start a team back in February, but actually starting the team was just very challenging because I was so inundated in the day-to-day of the transactions, having the consultations, meeting buyers out multiple days of the week, managing what was under contract, making YouTube videos, doing everything else you have to do as an agent. I didn't really have the bandwidth to also now think about all of the important foundations of building the team and bringing on the right agent. So I was dabbling in that, but it wasn't until just last month, October, that I officially finally got things off the ground on the team side. I have a partner who's a co-team leader now. She's actually just by chance is my sponsor at EXP, and we've become very good friends over the last couple of years. She lives here locally, so we decided to join forces. So now I'm more like the CEO and she's more the COO. And so she's doing a lot of the systems and processes for the agents. And now we have two other agents on the team. So there's four of us, and starting to train them on, the YouTube flow. And my goal is to not do as many transactions on my own. I want to do a handful, here and there, of course, but I mostly want to nurture the whole team and have the team take the leads and continue to stay more in that visionary seat of growing the business.
Wow. 2 years in and you're already starting a team and got a COO and talking about have you read Traction or something?
That's right. Yep.
Amazing. So yeah, well, you're talking like that. You're gonna have a good career because understanding this from the beginning is a game changer. So that's amazing. I'm blown away. I mean, very impressive. Second year agent and starting a team, understanding the two main roles of a business, really, not a real estate team, but of a business to have the visionary and the integrator to do that and understanding those roles and responsibilities and now already looking at moving close to out of production. I don't know. Do you plan to go completely out of production, or you may do a few deals here and there? And
Yeah, not anytime soon. Maybe eventually long-term plan, probably want to get fully out of production. For now, I do still enjoy it and I want to get more into the listing side. So of course with YouTube, it's been very heavy buyer. I've had a handful of listings, but I really want to get more into that side of the business. And also I joined EXP Luxury recently. So I want to do more luxury listings. So I think just being really focused on what personal transactions I am taking and then allowing the team to handle the rest.
that's awesome. Well, Charleston, so there's some pretty nice homes there, huh?
It's amazing. I love Charleston. It's so diverse because we have, of course, the historic homes downtown, but then we have beachfront homes and marshfront and just all kinds of really diverse housing
Yeah,
options.
it's like a clean version of New Orleans.
Yeah.
Which, hey, by the way, all right, before you hate me in the comments, I've lived in New Orleans. Actually, I've never been to Charleston, but New Orleans is my favorite city in the US. I don't know. I just love the history, the culture. I mean, everything, the architecture. I mean, I just love it. But let's be honest, there's some, I mean, it is a little ragtag down there, but I also like the nitty gritty part of it. But yeah, Charleston, very known for its yeah, beauty and the homes there. I guess you didn't name the channel Southern Charm, huh?
I think it would have had a little competition with that title.
There you go. Okay, so that's really cool. I mean, that's great to hear all that progress and but yeah, I mean, 500,000 from buyers isn't bad either, right?
Yeah, it's like I said, it far exceeded all of my expectations and even goals going into this. So it's been a wild ride and I'm super, super grateful for it and excited to see where we can continue to take the team now with some support. I think that would be a tip I have for people too is, everybody says just get started, which is totally true. And I echo that. But also if you are putting out consistent and good quality content, you are going to have success. So having a plan for that, having systems in place, having maybe a transaction coordinator if you are solo, having a plan for when are you going to make that next hire? Who is it going to be? How are you going to manage when you do get busy? Because that was something that I wasn't really prepared for, how quickly things did pick up. And then I was really drowning and totally burned out. I worked, 6, 7 days a week till late at night. And again, it was worth it, but it was just very challenging. And so I'd say have a plan for what this is going to look like too, when you do get the business so that you're not floundering around and burning out, because that is really hard in real estate to not burn out. So get the support that you need, have a plan in place for that.
That's amazing. What's that record you got hanging on the back wall there?
That is my 1K sub club from passive prospecting.
Oh, very nice. And where are you at on subscribers right now?
I'm at 1,625. So it's still a small channel, but
Yeah.
it's growing every month. But just it goes to show that you don't need a huge subscriber count to have a great business.
Yeah. So 1,600 subscribers, 546,000 GCI. I'll take that all day long. I'll take those numbers, better than having 100,000 subscribers yeah, I mean, but yeah, that's amazing because we've seen that a couple of times, just low subscriber counts and channels that are crushing it in production. So that's amazing. And also real quick, you mentioned good quality content. What have you seen other than the 55 plus communities? Is there any other content that you've seen really do well on your channel or you are really focused on?
It's been a mix. So some of my top stuff, it's some of the things you teach in the program, right? Like pros and cons of certain suburbs. I do some comparisons of different neighborhoods. So we have an area outside of Charleston called Somerville. It's its own, related to Charleston, but really its own place. And that's where a lot of our sales have happened because that's where most of the new construction is. So we do a lot of new construction and I love it. It's one of my favorite niches as well. And a lot of times 55 plus is also new construction. They go together. So do a ton of new construction tours, different neighborhoods, the models, again, go super in depth, even mentioning things down to like how much is the HOA and stuff like that. A lot of agents don't mention those types of things in the videos. That's the kind of stuff that people want to know. So I'll do videos focused on just one neighborhood, but then I'll also compare and contrast. So I'll take the two biggest 55 plus neighborhoods and do a deep dive into every little difference down to like, is the pool chlorine or salt water, that kind of stuff. Again, people want to know that. And then I'll take different new construction neighborhoods that are very popular and again, talk about the pros and the cons in a video all collectively. So have them as individual videos, but then also do more like compare and contrast style videos. I feel like those have all been really popular on the channel too.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, really, congratulations, and I'm happy to hear the success. Any final words for the aspiring YouTubers out there and the new real estate agents? And also, real quick, I just want to highlight this is within the last year. You know, really, and that's in a market where we've pretty much averaged 7% interest rates or higher. I
Low
mean,
inventory, historically low inventory.
yeah, yeah, historically low inventory, all-time high prices, transaction counts at their lowest in, what are they saying, 35 years, or this, we might actually be lower than 1995 is the transaction volume. Now that's depending on your market, but as a nationwide, and that pretty much averages out. So you pretty much have all the factors against you, 1,600 subscribers and 500,000 in GCI. And I mean, have you noticed have you noticed that this is one of the worst real estate markets of all time?
Right. Yeah, I know it's been, it really has just been, like I said, that's part of why it exceeded my expectations in general, but then with the market factors kind of against you, right? You could say to have had the success, I feel like is just been really a dream come true. Now, Charleston, we do have a lot of people moving here. So we are an incoming market, just like you are in Texas. We have people moving here from all over the country. So that, of course, helps things. But still, we still, just like everywhere else, have seen super low inventory, same interest rates and everything. So all of those factors are a constant. And I think it's always comes back to the basics and the foundations of just being consistent, putting out the good quality content, giving, thinking about who is watching the video and telling them what they want to hear. And they're going to love getting that value. And then they'll reach out when they're ready.
That's amazing. So again, congratulations. So happy to hear of the success, and sounds like you're off on the right foot too with the business side of it, which, again, we talk about if you've never looked up the cash flow quadrant, and that's something that have you ever read that book, The Cash Flow Quadrant?
I'll write that down now.
So of course, I'm sure you've heard of Rich Dad Poor Dad.
I've read that one.
So that's the follow-up book, Rich Dad or Cash Flow Quadrant. And really it's just it's just a perspective, right? It's if you're on the left side of the quadrant, which is employee and self-employed, then it's very difficult to obtain wealth on the left side of the quadrant, because as an employee you trade time for money and you work for somebody else. Now, that depends. Maybe you're a CEO of Pepsi or Coke, and as an employee, and yes, maybe you could become a multimillionaire, blah, 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 but not usually the case, right? When you get a real estate license, you just move down to the S quadrant. You become self-employed. So you still trade time for money. You just do it for yourself instead of somebody else. And so very difficult, like you said, you're going to reach a cap on transactions at one way or another. You're going to, you can only do so many. I'm surprised you made it to 20, probably because they were new construction. That probably helped out because you have a construction or a new construction agent that usually is kind of keeping an eye on that contract, running that back and forth. If you got it brought in a TC, that helps out. But otherwise, as you realize, you've got to start leveraging other people and processes and systems, or again, TCs, assistants, or buyer's agents. When you implement those things, that moves you to the right side of the quadrant. You become a business owner, and then you start to delegate some of those tasks, and that ultimately wealth is created on the right side of the quadrant, which is a B, a business owner, or I, investor. And so, and ultimately, the business owner, you have systems, processes, and people in place so that you could step away from the business and the business still runs. That's when you know you own a business, when you're a true business owner. And then, of course, we all want to be the investor because that's the ultimate leverage. Your money can make you money. You're like, oh, I've got enough money now and put it over here, put it over there, and it's going to go to work for me as I still build my business. But that's pretty amazing that most people don't recognize that. They get stuck in that. They don't understand the power of their strength, which is usually either the visionary or the integrator. Now you're already incorporating that. So I think you're making a lot of the right moves, and I think this next year, can you imagine 2025, especially with I would argue, doesn't matter which way you voted, you can say that in all markets, there's a lot of optimism now moving into 2025. And historically, the year following the election is the best year for real estate for the next following 4 years. The worst year for real estate is always in the year of the election. So it's kind of like after an election, and this is, I think, the past 11 election cycles, the following year, it's like, boom, if this was a bar chart, and then the next year it's kind of like here, and the next year it's kind of like here, and then the year in the next election is always kind of for transaction volume. So we weathered that storm. You weathered that storm. That's really amazing. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that shift, just to end on this note of what you were just speaking about, for agents, it is so important, the mindset of embracing that you are a CEO, even if it doesn't matter if you're making $50,000 a year, whatever it is, you are still the CEO of your business and you get to decide how you're going to run it. And I think people get into this and like, oh, maybe I'll dabble or maybe this or that. But if you really want to make it a career and have it be successful, I think adopting that CEO mindset from the beginning and really treating it like a business is super critical. I think that, just to your point, like that is something that agents, if they really want to take their business to that next level, just, reading these types of books. And I actually just have a little post-it that I wrote, I am a CEO, and I have it hanging right above my computer just to remind myself of that this, really is a business to take seriously, to build that team out. And I honestly think that trying to do it by myself, I think I lost a ton of deals, actually. Even though I had such great success, I'm not trying to focus on that, but to learn and to be my own, give myself constructive criticism, is that I did miss out on a lot of opportunity because I was too busy drowning and I couldn't follow up with people. And so again, getting the systems in place earlier rather than later, your future self is going to thank you. And then you won't have to miss so many opportunities too.
Yeah. Now, do you mind if I ask your age?
I just had a birthday last week. I'm 39.
39?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So I was going to guess like 34 or something maybe. And again, kudos. So really started in real estate around 37-ish.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and the reason I just bring that up too, because I think people are always kind of comparing themselves to, certain age ranges and things like that. But now you found a niche in 55 plus community, working with some older clients, but still have success, probably working with a lot of 30-ish and 40-ish year old clients. But also, a lot of people would be fearful starting at 37 on a new adventure, getting into real estate. And I was 41, when this happened to me, 2020, in my previous business, working with school teachers, when all the schools shut down in 2020, I was 41 years old going, okay, how do I start over without starting over? And that was really, probably one of the scariest things for me, is that, I'd experienced success. I'd actually had a pretty good, 20-year run of success. But I had always transitioned on usually my terms, and if I moved into something new or a new industry or something like that, I didn't, the bottom just falling out. And I could say getting sick too. Now that I think about that, well, actually, I've had some alternative factors happen in my life that it did happen to me, but I had time to try to think and pivot. But this one was really, I think, a big challenge for me too, because at 41, I was just thinking, man, I should be extremely comfortable right now sitting back, but of course nobody saw 2020 coming, but it forced me to say, okay, all right, what's the next move? How do I pivot? How do I think differently? Because I didn't want to start over, because I had always I've been in sales, different industries, but always actively prospect, always pursued people, always chased them down, always was on the hunt, and I was really good at sales because I was really the best prospector. I was willing to talk to more people than anybody else to make the most. I've done the door knocking, the cold calling in different industries. And I was just like, man, I've got to do something different. So just that mentality. But for me, 41, you 37, and now you're like, well, shoot, I'm glad. This is the best thing. I don't know, is it the best thing so far? Clearly it's monetarily, it's like you said, it's worked out quite well.
As far as career goes, it's the best decision I ever made was to get licensed.
Yeah. And then to start a YouTube channel, right?
And then, yes, exactly. The passive part of it is great. Obviously, like you always talk about, not passive because you have to do the work, but
Right.
that incoming lead flow. Like if I had to cold call in this business, I would have never made it because that's just not me. I do not feel comfortable and I can't force myself to do that kind of stuff sometimes. But when it feels like it is a good fit, I can just be myself, create value, and then the people appreciate it and they come, they, continue to reach out. And it's just, like I said earlier, still the coolest thing that it's just this consistent flow. So I really do think it's the best lead gen that you can do as an agent.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. And for those of you watching, go ahead and check the description. You can get a free copy of the digital book, Passive Prospecting, if you wish. You can join our community as well for free. Test it out, test drive, as we like to say. And then also we have a lot of other success stories, for you to check out as well. But, thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us today, sharing your story. Great to see you in Miami. It was funny. I just ran into you in a random coffee shop. I stopped in there. We were walking to dinner and I was like, I just feel like I need a iced Americano, just for the walk in Miami. I was like, let me just walk into this random coffee shop. And I think you're like the only person in there. And it was just funny because it was like, you're like Levi. And I was like, Sarah. And it's really weird, when you know people online and then you see them in person. Like I'm always like, is that you? Is that you? Yeah. So
I was so embarrassed because I had just had a facial massage. So my face was like bright red, like Rudolph's nose, and my hair was slicked back from the massage. And it was just like, I looked like a total hot mess. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm meeting Levi like this. But I didn't, it's kind of like once in a lifetime. Sometimes I didn't know if I would see you in Miami the rest of the trip and actually didn't. So I was just really glad that I said hi. And yeah, it was just meant to be to meet in that moment.
that was awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. Amazing story. I look forward to seeing what 2025 brings you, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you too.